IP SLA is a powerful configuration, and what we see here are elements such as setting up the probe, setting up an object, but where do we use that object? Let's explore that, and then we'll come back to the syntax. First, what would be a very traditional basic configuration for this environment, saying that we're the customer router? This would be what we would expect to find in our configuration on this router that has connectivity to two different ISPs. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give us an administrative distance for the second route of 180. So what that's going to do is it's only going to use the second default route if the superior default route goes away, which will happen if I lose this link between us and the ISP. But remember, things could be problematic downstream. And if they're problematic downstream, then we're really going to be challenged, because we think, oh, yeah, we've built in a backup link. And yes, you will use it in some circumstances. If you lose this link between the customer and the ISP, yeah, then you'll be failing over. But if anything fails over here and only in the ISP, then you are going to be not able to use your backup until you use IP SLA. So I'm going to add in track object 1, which is in reference to this object right here. Let's see how this syntax for IP SLA works. We build in the probe. IP SLA probe number. Doesn't matter, but we're going to reference it in just a little bit. Set up the parameters for ICMP-ish traffic generated by IP SLA. Where it's going to, where it's coming from, you don't have to do that. The where it's going to matters. Every 10 seconds, that's frequency. And then you start it. Get accustomed to this syntax. IP SLA schedule, reference the probe ID, start time now, life forever. See, you've defined the parameters, but you haven't said do it now. So you're going to need to do that. Memorize that syntax. That is the right syntax for IP SLA in a testing environment for path control. And context-sensitive help is going to get you into a world of problems. So you could start to go question mark at this point. And you're like, oh man, there are a lot of options. And then you do another question mark and another question mark. Don't do that. Put in start time now, life forever by memorizing it. And very seldom do we memorize character strings for commands in the iOS. But do that, and then set up the object. This is what is called the object. This is what we're referencing. If you're wondering, why aren't we tracking for 11? Well, that's the probe we track for the object. An object can be tied to the line protocol also, but what we say is track 1, IP SLA 11, referencing the probe, testing for reachability. That's the right syntax. That's all we have to do. In your environment, the only things that might change are the destination, source interface if you're using that, frequency if you want to be more aggressive, and then the numbers. Otherwise, this will work like a champ. And so now, if pings have failed to the IP address that we're testing, we're going to remove the better administrative distance default route, and we're going to fail over to 180, or we're going to fail over to the other ISP with a really inferior administrative distance. This is a great example to work through so that you understand how to apply this to the real world.